Alright, Colts, welcome back to 1.3 Notes Part 2. We're going to start with question number 7. And question number 7 is you need information given to you. It's not in the notes, but we're going to find the measure of segment PQ, given that Q is the midpoint of PR. So starting off, you're going to draw a picture. And I drew my segment PR. I drew Q as my midpoint, and then I drew my tick marks just to signify that it is the midpoint, signifying that PQ is congruent to QR. So I'm going to give you the information that PQ is 9y minus 2, and QR is 14 plus 5y. So because I know those two pieces of information, I'm able to set them equivalent, and I go through and I do the algebra here, and we find out that y equals 4. So if it helps you, pause the video just to see the steps as you go through to write it down and to solve. And then remember that the question asks us to find the measure of PQ, so I'm going to use, where I have it circled in green, this 9y minus 2, and I'm going to substitute in my y equals 4 here for my y. So I go through, I substitute in, I have PQ equals 9y minus 2, I substitute in my 4, 9 times 4 gives me 36, 36 minus 2 gives me 34, and I end up with PQ is equal to 34. All right, coming down to the next part, we're going to see locating a point at fractional distances. So there's going to be two things. There's going to be fractional distances, and then there's going to be ones that are going to say ratios. Okay, and in this case, we're just going to be doing fractional distances. You're not going to have to overthink it. The ratios are going to be when we're going to be doing partitioning a segment, and I'll give you a worksheet to go over that. So in this case, I give you a number line. It's pretty straightforward. I want to find x given that segment AF is like so. So I'm going to just sketch it down here so I have it. I know A is at -7, and I know F is at 5. Okay, recalling from what we did from previous section of notes, I want to find the measure of AF. So I'm going to use the absolute value, and I'm going to do the difference between my two values. So -7 minus 5, because my 5 is positive. So -7 minus 5 gives me -12. I take the absolute value of that, and the length of this is 12 units. You could also go up to the top and be like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. But I want you to be able to do it if the 1 there are decimals, or 2, it's super big, super large, it's 174. I don't want you to have to create a number line and count. Okay? So we know that the length of that is 12. So that's our first step. Our second step is going to be using this fraction of 1/6. I want to find x that is 1/6 of the distance from A to F. So here's my A. Here's my F. And I want to find x that's 1/6 of the distance. So probably here-ish, right? So I just take that for my step 2. I'm going to take my distance of 12, and I'm going to multiply it by my fraction, 1/6. Okay, so if that helps you, you can do 12 over 1, and then you can multiply straight across the top. Remember when we're multiplying fractions? And then straight across the bottom. And I end up with 12 over 6, which is going to give us 2. So that tells me every jump for this space of a 1/6 is going to be 2 units. So if I were to jump 5 more times, it would be 2 units each time. Okay? If it helps you, the number line actually helps pretty well. I got 2 units, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6 all together. So 1/6, 2/6, 3/6, 4/6, 5/6, 6/6. Okay? Going to step 3. Okay, I'm going to start from A, and I'm going to add that distance in between each one. And in this case, I want to add a sixth because I want to be a sixth of the way. So I'm going to say -7 plus 2 is going to give me -5. So therefore, my value of x is going to be at -5. Okay, and our last question is going to use the number line again, and we're going to find the point on CE that is 1/8 of the distance from C to E. So because I got a lot going on up there, I'm going to sketch my CE. Here's my E, here's my C. C is at -4, and E is at 2. So first thing I'm going to do is find the distance, or the measure of CE. I'm going to use my absolute value, so -4 minus 2. It's going to give me -6 in an absolute value. It tells me it is 6 units. Okay, I go to step 2. And step 2 is I'm going to take that distance, which was 6, and I'm going to multiply it by my fraction, which is going to be 1/8. And I'm going to end up with 6/8, which I can reduce to 3/4. Okay, and then this is where our skills of fractions are going to come in. So remember, I'm going to start with that end point. So I'm going to have C plus that distance that I want, that fraction I'm looking for, which is 1/8. Okay, so I'm going to say -4 plus 3/4. Okay, if it helps you, do -4/1 plus 3/4. Multiply this to get the same denominator. So we end up with 16. That's a -4. Zoom in a little bit so you can see. Plus 3/4. And we're going to end up with -13/4. And if you would like to just give a rough estimate, put it in your calculator, you get -3.25. So going up here, if we wanted to look at our graph, and if I were to plot this, let's use a different color. So let's say blue. So my CE is here. Let's get rid of some of this stuff in between so you can see it. CE is here, and I'm at -3.25. So 1/8 of my distance is going to be here at -3.25. And that's how we locate a point given a fractional distance from the endpoint.